Hello, everyone. Welcome back to RYGR Sports. My name is Logan.
And my name is Yash.
And in today's episode, we are going to be recapping this crazy NBA final series we saw between the New York Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs. Very close series. Every game in this series was winnable from both sides. And there's a lot to talk about regarding these 5 games. I guess I'll get started. My prediction before the series started was Knicks in 7. I believe Yash said Spurs in 6. And, every game in this series was very close. I mean, game 1 was down the stretch, like a 1 or 2 possession game with a minute left. Obviously, game 2 was crazy too. Game 3 was won by 4 points. Game 4 was won by 1 point. And then the other night we saw game 5 was won by 4 points. So when you look at all of these games in this series, both of these teams, could have won every single game. And, I think the key thing with this series is experience. This San Antonio Spurs team was the youngest team to ever make the NBA Finals. I believe the average age on this team is like 24 or something like that, which is extremely young. And I think we saw that in a lot of games in this series. Obviously, Dylan Harper, rookie, Victor Wembanyama, still really young. Stephon Castle, still really young. There's a lot of guys on this team that are, really inexperienced when it comes to high-pressured games, and I think that's kind of the reason why the Spurs lost this series. When you look at that Knicks team, it's nothing but experience on that team. Karl Anthony Towns has postseason experience. OG Anunoby literally has an NBA Finals victory. Josh Hart and Deuce McBride and Brunson have been in those deep Knicks playoff runs, and Jordan Clarkson, veteran, Mitchell Robinson has been on those playoff teams. So, I think this Knicks roster really just had a lot more experience than San Antonio, and I think that definitely played towards their advantage here in this series. When you look at a couple of these games, I mean, the Spurs were up double digits in, like every game. So to lose in 5 is very disappointing, and I'm sure this team is going to sit back this offseason, and I don't think they're going to make too many changes. They're only going to get better, right? Now that these guys have gotten this experience on a huge stage like the NBA Finals, I think they come back better than ever next year and definitely make a run at it again. I'm going to go game by game here. Game 1 was won by the Knicks in San Antonio. I mean, you talk about a kind of a back and forth game the whole way, and then in the fourth quarter, the Knicks really just showed their experience and pulled away at the end there. Obviously, Jalen Brunson had a crazy series. He scored 30 in game 1. And once the Knicks stole that game 1, I thought they definitely would have the clear advantage for the rest of the series. I mean, obviously, if you go on the road and steal game 1, that's a huge advantage. And then they won game 2 in San Antonio off of a missed shot by Wemby at the buzzer. So, you could say that was very kind of lucky for the Knicks, but they pulled out a close game again in San Antonio. And then once they went up 2-0, I really did not think there was a chance San Antonio would really come back and win the whole series. When you talk about Jalen Brunson, I mean, this guy is the king of New York right now. Talk about a crazy NBA Finals performance. I mean, every game this guy stepped up. I mean, the only kind of bad game he had was game 3. He only had 20, and that's still not going to hurt you. So, Jalen Brunson definitely earned my complete respect in this series, and I have him in my top 10 now that he's accomplished this achievement here with the Knicks. And then obviously that game 5 performance. I mean, oh my goodness. They scored 94 points in the game, which is still a really low number, and he had 45, which was absolutely ridiculous. So props to Jalen Brunson. OG Anunoby stepped up huge in this series as well. Obviously, we know in game 4, he had that crazy tip in at the buzzer. Well, not at the buzzer, but basically to win the game and complete that insane comeback. I mean, when you talk about that game, that's just inexcusable from San Antonio. You cannot lose that game up like 30. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, it's just horrible coaching. It's inexperience, and it really showed in that game. And really the whole series, I think they were up double digits in every single game. And when you only win one game out of those. I mean, that's just inexperience. That's not a lack of talent. It's on the coaching staff and it's on the players who were never really put in a situation like this before. I mean, I know Wembanyama has played in the Olympics, which is kind of a similar situation, but nothing like that in the NBA. Castle hasn't gone through that experience yet. Obviously, Dylan Harper hasn't gone through that experience. Vassell, no. The only veterans on this team is De'Aaron Fox, Harrison Barnes, and Kelly Olynyk, and Barnes and Olynyk didn't even play. So, yeah, I think this team in the offseason, when you look at the roster they have, it's only going to get better. I mean, there's some really great players on this team. I know Yash is going to tear De'Aaron Fox apart in a minute here.
Oh, yeah.
But he definitely had a horrible series. I mean, you trade for this guy, hoping he can really be that point guard for you. And I'm looking at his numbers here in the series, and he had 20 in Game 3, but other than that, it was just not good. I mean, you look at these field goal percentages: 20%, 37%, 28%, 23%. It's just not going to get it done. So definitely, De'Aaron Fox was a huge letdown for San Antonio, but so was Stephon Castle. I mean, really, the only guy on this team that really kind of stepped up was Wemby, and Wemby didn't really have that great of a series either. I know Vassell and Champagny stepped up and hit some shots in some situations. I'm looking at Wemby's numbers here, and he played fine. He had 26, 29, 32, 24. I mean, really, you couldn't really ask for too much more out of Wemby. I mean, the field goal percentages aren't great. 36%, 36%, 28%. The other two games were fine. But yeah, I mean, my overall thoughts on this series was I thought the Knicks were the better team on paper coming into the series, and I think they definitely played like the better team for the important parts of the series, not the whole series. I think San Antonio really, you could argue that they really outplayed the Knicks for most of the series. But when you look at these fourth quarters, man, it's just on the in the NBA Finals, you cannot just collapse like that in multiple games, or you're not going to win the series. And that's where the Knicks really stepped up in this series. A lot of crazy fourth quarter runs and really great defense being played in a lot of these fourth quarters, and that's where I think this series was won in the clutch time. So, yeah, huge congrats for the New York Knicks. I really do think after what all these fans have gone through over the last decade or so, I really do think this is completely deserved, and Wemby will have another chance for sure. This guy's not going anywhere. Spurs they're young, they're talented, they've got a solid coaching staff. This is just a huge learning experience for that roster, and they'll be back, I'm sure. They're going to be one of the best teams in the NBA next year anyways. So, yeah, great season for the Knicks. I mean, this is one of the most dominant playoff runs we've ever seen. And, yeah, this roster, I believe it's probably going to stay intact. So they might have another chance next year to make another run. But I'm going to hand it over to Yash now for his thoughts on the series. So, yeah, I mean, huge congrats to the Knicks, and they really had a pretty perfect playoff run.
Yeah, so before I talk about the Spurs, I would also like to credit the Knicks. They exceeded my expectations, not just for this series, but throughout the entire playoffs. Now, I do understand that the Spurs technically collapsed because they were up by at least 13 points in all 5 of their games at some point. And as much as the Spurs collapsed, the Knicks had that mentality of continuing to push, continuing to try. And, the Knicks were just a better team when it mattered most. That's all it really was. Now, Jalen Brunson, I know he didn't particularly shoot that well the first couple games. But, in the fourth quarter, he did what he needed to do, right? I mean, he played like the superstar. I mean, he played like a big-time player. Like, I think what separates a great player from a transcendent one is what they're kind of able to do when it matters most. And not tonight, but like just this entire week, Jalen Brunson has done. He's exactly what he's needed to do, game after game after game after game. And I can't really say anything bad about him. He played his heart out. OG with obviously the tip-in. That tip-in is going to be talked about for years and years. I think that tip-in honestly kind of changed the dynamics of the series, because if he doesn't hit that tip-in, it's 2-2. Now the Spurs are technically playing with considerably less pressure moving forward. I think that was a series-saving block on De'Aaron Fox on the other side, and the series-saving tip-in. Now, moving on to the Spurs. I don't want to see De'Aaron Fox ever touch a basketball again after what I just witnessed in games 4 and games 5. Okay? This is a veteran player. He's supposed to he's the one who's supposed to kind of control the pace a little bit. But he did the complete opposite. There's 12 seconds left on the clock. Why are you shooting the ball? All he had to do was hold on to it, run around the court, do whatever. But he didn't. And I feel like that was the biggest mistake that the Spurs made all series. There is not a single reason why Mitch Johnson has any reason to start De'Aaron Fox over Dylan Harper, especially the way we saw Dylan Harper play through this entire series. You can actually argue that Dylan Harper was the best player on the Spurs throughout the entire series, because Wemby's obviously a great player. His defensive presence is unparalleled, not just now but all time. But you kind of look at his shooting and he's just not that good. For being 7'5", his rim finishing is abysmal, especially right now. I understand, it's the NBA Finals, it's a lot more physical, but he's got to get better at the post. Like, I understand he's 7'5", I understand he can shoot threes and mid-range shots pretty well, but when that's not falling for you, you got to be able to drive the ball inside. But he didn't do it. Five straight games I watched Wemby just jack up threes in the fourth quarter instead of trying to push the ball down. But back to De'Aaron Fox. I saw some guy on TikTok the other day. He was saying that he would pay for the shipping and handling fees of De'Aaron Fox and send him to Turkey. And I'm like, that's honestly not the worst thing ever. Like I said, De'Aaron Fox should not be on the Spurs next season. And if he is, he should definitely not be the starter. I know he's getting paid $229 million. But, don't get me wrong, De'Aaron Fox is a great player. But for whatever reason, when it matters most, he's not able to get it done. You saw him against the Kings and the Warriors a couple years back. You just saw him this year. I mean, he played pretty mediocre most of the games. I do give him credit for Game 3 where he hit that one shot that kind of made it 4 points. But, it's just embarrassing. Because if I told somebody, let's just say I told you. What if I told you that the Spurs were going to be up at least 13 points in all 5 games, and the series was going to end in five games? You would have 100% thought that the Spurs were going to win the series, but it was the complete opposite. And I was just very disappointed. Like I'm not a fan of either of these teams. I was rooting for the Spurs a little bit more than the Knicks, but at the end of the day, I don't really care. But if I'm a Spurs fan, there's just absolutely no way I'm like happy with the way things went. And I feel like a lot of changes do need to be made. I understand this is a team that made the NBA Finals, but they're going to kind of need to get some veteran players in there, like experienced veteran players that are kind of able to calm things down in situations like these. Because, I mean, they played really well against the Thunder, but they just completely collapsed against the Knicks. There's really not much to say. But, obviously, moving on, I know Jalen Brunson won NBA Finals MVP, so I'd also like to congratulate him in that. That was one of the, if not, in my opinion, that was like one of the best closeout performances I've ever seen. 45 out of the 94 points on his team. I mean, that reminded me of, at least most recently, that was like Giannis's 50-point game in Game 6 against the Suns. That's the last time in the last couple years that I saw a final closeout game like this. He played incredible. He had 13 points in the fourth quarter. But I'd really like to congratulate the diehard Knicks fans, the good ones, not the ones who like burn cars and stuff, but the passionate, real Knicks fans. You guys do deserve it. It's been 53 long years. That being said, I don't think that the Knicks are going to be able to kind of recreate this season next year.
I mean, yeah, I think most of their roster probably stays intact. I know Jalen Brunson's not going anywhere forever. Karl Anthony Towns is probably going to be a Knick still. Bridges is under contract. And Josh Hart's a key piece there. I think, this team, I think they win 50 games easily next year, and I think, they got another chance to make a run. Obviously, it's pretty hard to make the NBA Finals, and the East has a couple of really great teams that are only getting better, right? Pistons are going to be really good. Celtics are always going to be good. Atlanta and Orlando are also getting better as well. So we'll see. I did want to ask you one question before we end off this video. Who are going to be your final your contenders for a championship next season? We'll go 2 in the East and 2 in the West.
Okay, so my 2 in the so I'll start with the East actually because I do have something else to say about the Spurs, but for my East teams, I'm going to go this might be kind of surprising. I'm going to go Celtics, and I'm going to go the Pacers. I think the Pacers are a very good team. Obviously, they were missing their best player. and Tyrese Halliburton. I think the Pacers have a pretty good shot next year at getting to an NBA Finals. It sounds kind of crazy, especially since their last run was like magical. But I don't think the Cavs are that great. I, I mean I don't think the Sixers are that great either. I just don't think that there's that much competition in the Eastern Conference, like aside from like the Knicks. But like, so Knicks Celtics. So I'm gonna go Celtics at 1. I'm gonna go Pacers at 2, and I'm gonna go Knicks at 3 for my East prediction. And for my West prediction, I'm gonna go at 3. I'm gonna go the Lakers at 3. I'm gonna go Nuggets at 2, and I'm gonna go the Spurs at 1. Now, one more thing I wanted to mention about the Spurs is they had the reigning sixth man of the year in Keldon Johnson, and he averaged 4 points during this series. So what that means is that he averaged 4 more points than me and you did in the NBA Finals, right? And him and Stephon Castle shooting tour dates game after game after game. Because I feel like De'Aaron Fox has just took the spotlight with his like lowlights the last 2 games, but like Keldon Johnson and Castle kind of need blame on their offensive capabilities as well. And I feel like that they've got a lot of blame deflected just because of De'Aaron Fox. So I wanted to take a minute and mention how bad Keldon Johnson and Stephon Castle played. So if I'm the Spurs, Keldon Johnson, he's gone next season. De'Aaron Fox, he's gone. You know what? As a Lakers fan, I would absolutely love to see LeBron James take De'Aaron Fox's spot on the Spurs. I guarantee you they win the NBA Finals if LeBron goes to the Spurs.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron's definitely getting older, so I'm not really too sure what impact he'd have on the Spurs. But
I mean, he
any
wouldn't
team
turn the ball
LeBron's
over
on,
9
they're gonna
times
at
a
least
game.
make the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, if I had to pick 2 teams in the East and 2 teams in the West, I think the Celtics is a great answer. They didn't have Jason Tatum for a majority of the year this year, so I'll take them. And it's hard for me not to pick Detroit just because they have like such a great roster there. I mean,
Their
I would
experience
say
level is low though.
I can't really see too much of a change in the East next year. I think the top dogs stay the top dogs. Um, I know some teams are obviously going to be better than what they were this year, but I really do think Detroit and Boston are still your top 2 teams in the East. And then over on the West, I mean, it's also hard for me not to say the Spurs and the Thunder. I mean, these 2 teams have just crazy rosters, and I don't see them really declining. I mean, nobody on OKC is leaving. No one on San Antonio is probably going to leave. So, I mean, I'll go Spurs and Thunder. I think that's easily your answer there. Obviously we know Denver's going to be really good. Portland's getting way better. As a Rockets fan, I don't know about that team next year. I mean, it's just tough being a Rockets fan. They'll be fine, I guess. Yeah, outside of those couple teams, I mean, the Lakers will probably be all right. But I think the Spurs and the Thunder are just like leagues above everyone else.
I think
So
the Thunder have kind of been figured out a little bit. And it's not SGA. SGA's talent is obviously unparalleled. He's one of the best players in the NBA. But I think Chet is not that great of a center, and I think that's really going to cost the Spurs because he was getting basically cooked by everybody in the playoffs. Really, I mean, the only reason why the Lakers didn't beat him is because they had DeAndre Ayton, who's worse. I mean, DeAndre Ayton's not that much better than me. Like I don't even know what he does, but
yeah, I think the Thunder are still a 58-60 to 62 win team, which will definitely put them at the top of the West. So I think they'll definitely be contenders next year in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, I see your point. I mean, the Thunder, we didn't really see, they dominated up until they saw San Antonio, and I thought the Thunder were the better team than San Antonio, and the Spurs figured them out and won that series. So who knows what we'll see from them next year? I think it's going to be like a battle for top dog in the West between those 2 teams. But we'll just have to wait until the fall and see. So if there's not anything else you want to say regarding the series, that's going to do it from us. Looking forward to another great NBA season in the fall. If you guys enjoyed this recap, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And leave a comment down below on your thoughts about this crazy series that we saw. I mean, at the end of the day, we saw a great series with 5 extremely close games, which is all you can really ask for as a fan, and even if you're not rooting for any of the teams, you wanna see a crazy series with crazy finishes, and that's exactly what we saw in this series. So it was great, and definitely looking forward to another great NBA season next year. Hopefully, we get a lot of crazy free agent signings and trades and all that good stuff. So we'll probably make a couple NBA offseason videos as the summer rolls along, if any crazy news breaks or anything like that. But until then, we will see you guys in our next episode. See ya.
Yeah.